When I throw pieces at you, you better believe that whatever I'm presenting to you is probably not what I planned. There's probably something else happening. And if you can pay attention to that, then you can pay attention and win. But if you don't, I'm gonna find that angle, I'm gonna break it open, and I'm gonna run my boys down there and smash your king.
I think the biggest thing that happened to me was meeting a group of African-American men who call themselves the Black Bear School of Chess. These guys were straight out of Brooklyn and straight out of the inner city in Brooklyn, as a matter of fact, out of the projects, who studied chess like rabbinical students. They just didn't care about your feelings, man. It was like, so what? You feel bad because I'm crushing you? That's good. I'm going to crush you some more. Well, the guy who was most like my father, Willie Johnson, everybody calls Pop, he was trying to be nice, you know. He was like, look, this kid is talented. He's going to go places. Maybe one day he'll be a grandmaster. And Steve looked at him and said, that's nice. And when he becomes a grandmaster, he's going to remember this ass whooping I put on him. And when we play again, he's still going to lose to me. And I was like, you mean if I'm a grandmaster, that's going to happen? It's like, yep, that's what we do here.
Let's go.
Okay. All right, come on, son.
Champ is here. Let's go.
There we go. There we go.
Hurt moves.
There we go.
I'm trying to figure some things out, man. I'm trying to figure out the best way to put the hurt move in effect, man. You just got to have this good with the paper.
Who knows? Who knows?
The idea of competitive art is something that is in many traditions of the African diaspora, whether that's competitive dance or competitive music or competitive poetry. All those things can be traced back to Africa. So even things that don't appear to be competitive are always competitive on some level.
You got to stop it from talking.
It's the competition of chess that brings people to their brink. It's the competition of the battle on the mic, on turntables, on the dance floor. And those perennial philosophies between them are everything from know who you are, know your style, know your lineage, know yourself, be fearless, have a plan B and a C and a D. All of these things play out in the rap battle. All of these things play out in the dance battle, and all of these things play out on the chessboard.
Chess is one of the few games that you sit down at a table, and there's a board in between the two persons. Here you are, you're sitting 3 feet apart, and that's very close. That's closer than you usually get to somebody that you don't know. And then you sit down and you have this conversation without speaking, you know, which is a very surreal experience. You're actually having a conversation and you're not saying anything to each other. Your conversation is being had over the board.
The beauty of chess is in the harmony. You have to coordinate your forces to be as efficient as possible in carrying out their task. And when you do that at a high level, it's simple, it's beautiful, it's creative, it's instinctive, it's artistic. That attracts the fertile minds of great artists.
Most people accept the history of chess being created in India, and then it went through Persia, and the name changed a number of times and went down into Africa, across the Sahara.
And chess made it to Europe through the Moors, who conquered Spain in 700 AD, were there for 700 years. The Moors were a group of African Muslims and Arabs who lived in the coast of Northwest Africa. They were amazing strategic warriors, and they were also incredibly gifted in the space of theology and science.
And the Moors, who were dark-skinned people, left a lot of things in Spain, including running water technology, universities, and chess.
Not only did they bring the game of chess, When most of Europe couldn't read, the Moors were writing advanced books on mathematics, on medicine.
So many people now think of it as sort of like a European high culture game, which it evolved into at some point. But it was people of color that invented the game, first of all, and then brought the game across the continents to take root in Europe.
Rabbi, we've been waiting for the Messiah.
Hip-hop was born out of the ashes of the civil rights and black power movement of the 60s and 70s. And during that time, in North America, there was a huge resurgence of Islamic theology in all of the cities where hip-hop became big. Chicago, New York, LA, San Francisco. And as Islam grew in those areas, so did the quest for scholarship.
Even if people aren't practicing Muslims, it's just sort of general philosophical ideas about life and cultural ideas that come from Islam are deeply intertwined with African American culture in many ways. Especially in hip-hop, because that was something that was particularly ascendant at the time that hip-hop developed. And many of the people who were important innovators in hip-hop either were Muslim themselves or were just very influenced by Muslim culture in various capacities. And I think that is an important connection to chess because there's just sort of an intellectualism associated with the way Islam operated within hip-hop that is similar to the intellectualism of chess. And then, of course, there's also the connection between Islam and between Arabic culture and chess itself. New York City at that time was going through a lot of economic difficulties, particularly in the Bronx and Brooklyn and other places where Black and Latino people lived, who were the people that developed hip-hop. And so they were people that didn't have access to a lot of materials, they didn't have access to a lot of things to do, and they had the kind of concerns that any teenager has, which are, how can I look good in front of my friends? How can I define who I am? How can I get people to respect me? All teenagers go through that process, but for people in New York City at that time, hip-hop began to be a way to do that.
It gave a lot of inner city kids an outlet from extreme poverty and extreme crime that was going on and negligence from the government and everything. They didn't have musical outlets, they didn't have instruments to express themselves, so here comes a form of music that you don't need instruments for. Of course, instrumentation is still important, but if you don't have the money, you can still play a record and kind of manipulate it and kind of make something out of something else. You know, a door is a door, right? But if you take it off the hinges, it can also be a tabletop. It can also be a headboard, you know? And that's basically the kind of the sense of what hip-hop is. We take a lot of existing materials and we flip it and make it something else.
The great artists take some of their ideas and then they also take historical ideas and they come up with something new, but it's like a standing on the shoulders of giants and synthesizing great ideas of the past and great ideas of their own.
So you have somebody like Kool Herc starting to play breakbeats back to back, extend the breakbeats, and then you have other DJs who are like, well, we can do that, but we can do it in a cleaner way. So you have Grandmaster Flash lining up the breakbeats in a way so that it sounds like it's one continuous breakbeat. And then you have somebody like Afrika Bambaataa saying, well, I can do that, but I can get crazier records. I can find records that nobody's ever heard of before and get people to dance to it, and nobody will be able to compete with me because they won't know what the records are. I'm going to take the records into the bathtub and pull the labels off, so even if other DJs try to look at what I'm playing, they won't be able to see what it is. And then the dancers will say, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to come up with new dance moves to battle somebody else. So the chance to be a 12 or 13-year-old and get on a stage with a microphone and have a whole group of your peers listen to your opinions about things or just pay attention to you and hopefully be impressed with what you're doing was a very, very attractive option for a lot of people.
America has never been interested in the opinions and statements of young black males. Not in the history of this nation has the voice of black men been desired. And anytime it has risen up to say anything, especially anything that might be contrary to the mainstream status quo, it was often ignored and when acknowledged, attacked. And so hip hop fearlessly always spoke the truth, whether it was convenient or not.
You have hip-hop, which is looked at as a lowly ghetto art form for thugs and violence and fighting. They look at chess as something that's elitist and something beyond their scope or something that's not for them. The reality is people from all cultures, from all walks of life, from all socioeconomic backgrounds play chess. And when it comes to hip-hop, you get a chance to see how many bridges hip-hop can build when you see that hip-hop has been a common denominator around the planet for a youth movement of communication and community.
Yo, checkmate, crown me king of chess to these spectators. I'm 10 steps ahead of the game and the next hater. My combinations lead to a compensation. Mind concentration, causing force moves, I dominate them. And it's no competition for competitors. Context is too complex. I'm a predator. My conscience will make mine spin. I'm ahead of you. I'm alignment. Set it straight. You don't measure up. Second strings want to throw shots at the starting spot like throwing rocks at the cloud. What an aim flop. Dirty ways. Leave them all naked in the blowing wind. Lying in the desert looking severed with a burning sin. False hearts of men. Never taught how to win. It's a hard cost to blend. When my thoughts cross the pen, I can draw illustrations that'll trace you through the stars. When I walk, I can carry freedom souls on my heart. Set apart, non-believers, we just leave them in the dark. Be the reason for achieving, pledge allegiance to the art. Set the pace when my patience is running thin. Keep the soul divided, my home is uninviting. Chess.
As the subculture of hip-hop was evolving in its embryonic state and finding itself, the chessboards were right on the same street corners that the freestyle battles and the b-boy battles and the graffiti battles were happening on.
I recall probably around the age of 19 or 20, dreaming about trying to get my own company, basically selling weed on Wall Street to Wall Street stockbrokers and stuff. But at lunchtime, right at the World Trade Center Park, right next to the Millennium Hotel, there was a bunch of chessboards set up. And at lunchtime, a lot of the Wall Street guys would come down and play the street hustlers. And I was amongst those guys. New York has a culture of that. Washington Square Park is the most popular place that this happens at. It happens uptown in Harlem, happens in Queens, it happens in Staten Island. It's definitely part of New York street culture. While the guys are playing basketball, there's chess sets set up at a lot of these parks. In fact, New York was so engaged in chess that at the park, they had concrete chessboards. Concrete chessboards.
The Russians are going to really be into it when I get the title. But, they made me wait a long time. Well, they've held my title for about 10 years, but I look at it.
Who's going to win this game?
I think Fischer.
I think Fischer is going to win.
I think White had a better chance.
Fischer. It's very difficult to say, I don't know. No idea at all. No, but at the moment, I don't see that Spassky has enough for the pawn.
Fischer should win this game.
Well, to me, this game looks like the end of the match, really. I think 3 points is too much. Until today, I thought it would still be an exciting match, but now I think Fischer is winning rather easily.
Mr. Spassky resigned. Mr. Fischer has now won this game 21, and he is the winner of the match. Thank you.
In 1972, Bobby Fischer beats the Russian Boris Spassky to become the world champion. In 1973, the Universal Zulu Nation, the oldest hip-hop group and preservation society and history keepers, formed. The person who founded the Universal Zulu Nation, Africa Bambaataa, the creator of the song Planet Rock, and a lot more. He was in the Bronx. Bobby Fischer was from Brooklyn. From that point forward, hip-hop and chess were connected on the streets because hip-hop was evolving on the streets and chess was evolving on the streets of New York and Washington Square Park and a bunch of other places. What was the soundtrack? Well, it surely wasn't Beethoven. It surely wasn't Vivaldi's Seasons. It was hip-hop.
They seek refuge, pray to be rescued from the street. Watch you step around every corner, the angel of death loom to escape traps. Gotta be Bobby Fischer afresh, so ill with them chess moves. Bishop stick up kids, run you for your dress shoes. Rooks cook the books, the pawn is on the take. The night upon government mandate, slaving for the magistrate. The queen, she really runs things. The kings are lame, me trying to get busy with other chambermaids. Chaos all over the board, still this the game that we play. Pieces we dealt, man, they thieving your wealth. Man gone wild, this is what happens when the human species rebels. Meeting with the bleaks and the leeches on that path to hell. I had to step back on rooftop room with the bird's eye view. Sky covered with them poisonous fumes. Plumes of smoke from pollution makers, goons in coats, cloaks, and dagger to keep you on the plantation. Can't breathe, your throat closed with asthma. Pharmaceutical albuterol until the lungs dissolve. If man's the problem, how it ever gonna be solved? Step into my cipher and let these thoughts revolve. Step into my cipher and let these thoughts revolve. Man, time to evolve. Check. And what's it called? It's the karma of the streets. The tragedy, the comedy, the drama of my piece. The victims of economy, the slave traders' colony. So follow me as we wander free. Through the karma of the streets. It's the karma of the streets. The tragedy, the comedy, the drama of my piece. The victims of economy, the slave traders' colony. So follow me as we wander free. Through the karma of the streets.
The miseducation that I got from the streets, the people that I had chose for my role models, the lifestyle, the subculture, the flash, the glitter, the nightlife, the whores, the prostitutes, the pimps, the hustlers, the drugs, and the alcohol. And when I look back on it, I really didn't have an end game. I thought being a hustler, being a player, I thought going to prison was just an occupational hazard.
I am definitely still a student, so I'm always learning all these different paths, all these different ways of doing things. And every time I do that, you open up another bunch of roads to go to, and it's like, oh man, look at all these other paths you could take.
Chess opened my eyes to another walk of life. Chess opened my eyes to paradigm shift. Chess opened my understanding to positioning myself where once I might have thought was a seamlessly hopeless condition, I found out that I wasn't in a bad position at all. I understood how to look at things, not so much pessimistically, but optimistically. I'm never a loser. I'm either learning lessons or I'm teaching lessons.
To succeed at chess, players must understand the nature of pressure. Sheer, relentless, unyielding pressure. Pressure that, once imposed, cannot be evaded and exerted upon one's opponent without mercy. Players must possess the cognitive ability to envision many moves ahead, while manipulating the pieces on the board to impose a constant, unrelenting threat upon the opponent. Attacks must be indefensible. Defenses must be impenetrable. Gambits must be inescapable. Some say chess is a reflection of life. Others claim that chess mirrors human nature. Few say that chess is the art of war. They are all wrong. Chess is a game that drives men mad.
Survival is a great motivator. And what I grew up in was all about survival. And I'm not sure a lot of my opponents understood what that meant. You know, there's a certain edge, there's a certain desperation, there's a certain hunger, wanting to win at all costs, by any means necessary. And that's an attitude that you don't just make up. You don't just have. It's beaten into you. I mean, literally beaten into you.
At this point, generations of self-taught poets who all continue to celebrate the game of chess, a game that many of them were taught by other people in their community or they taught themselves. So they're not playing chess because Professor Crumbottom's chess club went into the ghetto and raised these kids up to know the game. Professor Crumbottom drive right by him on the way to the university. These kids learned it themselves, just like they learned the poetry themselves.
Just say, for instance, we were in a schoolhouse that was only 2 stories. The main floor, then it was a floor over top. I said, say the police come in, chase you down the hall. Every room you run out, there's no windows. And every time you run out of a room, there's 2 doors. You run in one door and you find there's no way out. And the door that you ran in, he locks it. Then you run out of the other end and he locks that door. You go across the hall, you do the same thing. You run in one door, he locks that, you have to run out the other one. You do this all the way down to the end of the hall and you run into the room and he locks it. And then you run upstairs. The same thing happens. All the way down the hall. Every room you run in, no way out, he locks the door, and you run into another room, he locks the door, and all the way down at the end, and finally there's nowhere to go. You're trapped. That's checkmate.
This is about the game of chess, the game of kings, the black and white jungle. All right, the 64 squares of infinite combat. I don't play for trophies. I don't play for medals. I don't play for a rating. I play to understand my life better. I play to defend my own ideas and execute what I believe I see in an evolving position. And so most of the people that play in the world also play from that place. If you're dealing with hip-hop cats, if you're dealing with rappers, b-boys, graffiti writers, MCs, beatboxers, DJs, right? If you're dealing with those people, they too are rarely looking for a rating. Because for young black males and females on the streets of Oakland, San Francisco, St. Louis, the Bronx, Staten Island, Chicago, life is real, and their ability to feel secure in who they are can come down to falling for an illusion, can come down to not paying attention to the details, can come down to not recognizing a real threat and how to go over it, around it, negate it, hold it at bay. All of that is chess in life. All of that is chess in life.
Now if you love